Hey guys, welcome to the A2B1.
So anyway, I'll take it over from here. What's up, guys? Welcome to the A2B1 Podcast, the anime fight of the week. We're your hosts, Aaron, Axl, Brandon, and with our newest host, Loren. He's joining us here this week. It's been about 10 seconds. So, all right, time will resume.
Podcast. Hey, wait, why is my shirt off?
Never you mind that, Axl. So, if you haven't figured it out, today we'll be discussing JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, specifically part 3 of the series. So, Loren, you're joining us today. Why don't you start us off?
Oh, man. Okay, so tell me why it's stand of the week.
All right,
Let's start with that.
Aaron, how are you doing today? I already hate our new host.
Explain it to me too.
Okay, so anyway, stand of the week. So this is obviously something that you hear a lot of people have their issues with. Some people love it about part 3, where, there's basically a different stand boss battle every single week, and that's kind of the whole note of the series. And some people love it, some people hate it. Part 3 is kind of the most broad and, widely recognized part of the series, so there's got to be something good to it. So, is anyone in here a fan of stand of the week?
No. Can I correct myself, actually?
Sure.
It would be fine more so if it wasn't, as long as it was.
There's just so many stands. I mean, you have the tarot cards, and then they added these other ones,
No, I don't agree with that. I just think they could have...
No, yeah. Because I understand why Araki did it. He wanted to show, how creative he could be with stands. And that's understandable, but it could have been 24 episodes.
Well, see, but this is my only thing with it. So, I know you guys know, and then our viewers, to let y'all know. So, part 3 is kind of an odd one for me, because when I talk about my favorite to least favorite JoJo parts, the first half of part 3 is definitely the lesser part for just me personally. That would be my lowest. But the second half of part 3 is probably my second, third favorite part. I absolutely love the second half. But, as you guys just mentioned, the second half still kind of keeps the stand of the week battle. I just think the stands are far more interesting. And I think the battles are a little more, divisive. And I just enjoy the way it goes. So, if you don't like the stand of the week format, or you have an issue with it, do you think it's because of the sheer number of stands that like how Loren, you just said that's all that they do, or do you like it when it's done in a good way?
For me personally, it's the amount of stands. I just think there's just too many. I don't think some of them just wasn't even really interesting to me.
But do you think the series got an uptick when it went to Egypt, or do you think that it was still just bland throughout the whole thing?
Well, I didn't like those stands. I thought those stands could have just been cut out. The Egyptian god stands. I didn't think that needed to be a thing. Like a lot of them, I just was okay, they're here. Especially the book one, I just did not like.
Oh, no, you don't talk bad about Oingo Boingo around here.
No,
that is
that
a
was
hot
the most
take.
artistic.
Oh, it was, and the intros. That's hot
I like
fire.
the music. I like the songs.
Yes, the Oingo Boingo. No, that is too necessary for the plot.
The sword need to be a thing.
I love Anubis. I mean, to be fair,
okay,
Paul Nerf with Anubis was some of the coolest. That's what I say. I'm not arguing whether or not it's necessary. I'm arguing that it's cool, because I definitely enjoyed Battle in Egypt. I think Battle in Egypt was the best part about not only that part, but also of the series. I think it was one of the better parts. Clearly the fights with the Darbies and the fights with Dio were amazing, but even the Egyptian God stand battles, the Basset episode was one of the funniest, with the whole interactions with Avdol and Old Man Joseph. The Paul Nerf fight with Anubis was awesome. That one was super cool. Jeb in the desert, their very first fight, the water guy, the blind dude, that was a cool fight, and it really showed off Iggy. It lets you get a bigger introduction to the full. Tell me, Pet Shop.
You said it showed off Iggy. All it did with Iggy was, Iggy isn't pointed in the direction he is. Yes.
What do you mean?
You said it showed off Iggy. All it did was Iggy was pointed in the direction he was in, and he glided over. That was it.
But I'm saying that other than Pet Shop, that was the most involvement Iggy. I guess and Vanilla Ice, but of the Egyptian gods, that was the one where you got introduced to Iggy as a character. And I guess I don't really just necessarily mean his stand, but I also mean him as a character. That was the episode where a new character got involved with the Stardust Crusaders. they showed off his personality because of his little antics with Polnareff. He got some battle time, whereas the rest of the battle was basically full Jotaro because everyone else got bodied by this little water guy from a mile away. And that was kind of...
You make it seem like he was weak.
Oh, no, he wasn't. But that's the point.
Nothing.
That's the point. Little Water just was owning people. And then Pet Shop, and then that's the other thing, Pet Shop. You know, Horus. That was one of the best fights of arguably the entire series was Iggy versus Pet Shop. And that was one of the Egyptian gods. So Aaron's got hot takes on part 3.
I thought I was going to be the downer of this one. No, it doesn't seem like that even a little.
Like, why did Iggy get introduced halfway through this series? Please explain that one to me. Like, he gets introduced halfway through because of his smell of being able to smell out stands or whatever, and it's just like, okay, why not introduce? Like, why would you not have all your like big fight people like at the beginning to help as much as they possibly can?
I mean, I will say you can question
why
everything. There's so many things that can be questioned. Like, because the one thing about JoJo, you know, the positive that it has as a series is it's like a fillerless anime. Everything is true to the manga. So even if things are unnecessary, at least it's true. Because you can ask yourself with any good anime, especially shonens, why does this filler episode exist? Why is this here? And they just put it in just to give you something to watch each week, give you a taste of it. But JoJo literally fills you with every information that's in the manga. You know, it does a very good job at adapting to the on-screen version. So even though some things may seem unnecessary, there's a lot of things. I mean, last week, you know, you had your questions about the little boy in part 1 and the whole how
questions. I said he crawled through a window.
Well, no, he crawled. But I'm saying what relevance, because he just kind of showed up randomly and left. I mean, he did open the door, but still at the same time, Iggy did do things to progress the plot. If Iggy wasn't there, you could argue they never would have.
Besides that, what did he do? Besides that, he had 2 things he did. Besides that, he was just there and during the little to be continued Iggy. Before that, Iggy came. I was like.
You know, as much as I love him as a character, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like Iggy did more than Avdol.
100%.
I love Avdol as a character, but you got to think.
I don't.
Oh, do you not?
I just genuinely think he was useless throughout the whole show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why did that?
Am.
Why did that tick start?
I don't know. That's my point. Because it's JoJo. But that's my point. When we go into the mansion, you have Avdol who decides to put that little. What was it? 8-way directional compass or whatever, and he's like, "This is flames, and the flame will light up when there's a stand user." And it's like, why didn't you just do this before? Why didn't you just do this during every other time where we were in a city and we're like, "Where's the stand user?" You had a compass that detects stand, but that was something beneficial.
What was the point in bringing up Iggy can sense out stands?
No, he explained that a little bit because he said that literally it picks up anybody's breathing and like living creatures, so they knew in that mansion what they were looking for.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, but that's the thing. So, Avdol did find the dude in the wall who was making the illusion because of that. And arguably that may have been beneficial to the plot, but Avdol probably didn't need to use the fire compass to be able to see the little note on the wall that says, when you turn around, you're going to die. And so that's when he saved Polnareff and Iggy. But I mean, he saved Polnareff and Iggy. That was a big deal. But other than him saving Polnareff and Iggy, which again is still technically something, Iggy still did a lot. Iggy still helped fight against Cool Eyes. Iggy was still part of what... I mean, Jeb bodied everyone.
Ooh, you mean even Vanilla Ice?
Vanilla Ice, my bad. I used them little copyright names. But even in the forest, like I say, in the desert, in the first episode with Iggy, with Jeb... Even Jotaro is talking about how he would probably die if it wasn't for his gliding with Iggy. I mean, he literally needed to get propelled to do what he could. And when Iggy was forcing him to the ground and he was like, oh, I gotta kick off, that was really a battle of time. Because if you remember, it came down to Jotaro punching him and him stabbing with his stand, and he knocked Jotaro's hat off. So it was like, it could have been one way or the other. One of them could have died, but Iggy gave them the best chance of survival. So, I mean, even though it was random that he showed up, he had relevance.
I was just saying, like, why, like, it was just thought that it was weird that he got introduced, like, so late in the season.
Why did Avdol die and come back?
Why did Avdol act completely different when he came back? He literally was so happy about peeing that little thing with Polnareff.
A bullet scraped his brain, so it might have jarred something, you know, like, they kind of hinted at that anyway.
But he was laughing the entire time they were peeing.
I think the most stoic person would still find humor in pissing in their enemies' little breathe tube, so I can't I can't really complain about that too much. So
I don't get your problem with him coming in so late. You like One Piece, and they are the king of introducing a character probably 3 arcs later. I don't understand
a little spoiler alert, but Jinbei joins the Straw Hats like way late in the series.
Okay, but compare what Jinbei does to what Iggy did.
I mean, for their animes, I think they've done what they really needed to do.
Like,
I don't
I just didn't understand. Like I said, Iggy had his moments. Iggy had his moments. He helped out like a couple of times, but I just truly didn't understand to introduce this character and then the little things like I said, the kitchen before the to be continued, Iggy's just I'm okay, this is I just didn't find it that humorous. And then it's at the same time there was the episode where he was when they were waking up to get breakfast in the magnetism episode. You see Iggy oh, these guys are about to die.
That's how I mean, you can say now the bigger if you're going to question anything about Iggy, you should question why he looked absolutely disgusting on the first episode, and then they cleaned him up every other episode. They literally were okay, we kind of made this dog look like absolute gross dump truck garbage, and we don't want our viewers, thinking we just hate dogs, even though we kill them every 2 episodes in JoJo. So we're gonna clean them up a little bit, make them a little cute.
If you're a dog in JoJo, you're gonna die.
I didn't think the whole him jumping on Paul Ref all the time, pulling his hair out and farting in his face. I didn't okay.
Oh, I absolutely love that.
I was oh, okay.
That was a good one.
Cool.
So, as y'all can probably tell, Aaron is not the biggest fan of part. Is part 3 your least favorite part?
Oh, yes. Oh, 100%. But I literally have rewatched it this week, and I did not enjoy rewatching it. Literally, I've called Axl over here, all week, and telling him, how my week is just, ugh.
Yeah, I knew this was coming.
This is hot takes for y'all. So,
and I really would like for one of you 3 to explain to me why that they do not even talk about Hamon at all.
They're trying to introduce a new ability.
They literally do. Joseph uses it. He wraps it around his body.
Okay.
Well, he uses it before.
When he uses it, when Jotaro pulls out the bud and uses overdrive to kill the little bud.
Yeah.
How come nobody questioned what that was?
To be fair, during the entire series, you'll sit there and have one person fighting and the other 5 are just narrating what's going on half the time. So there's a lot of things that they don't really question. And in fact, you got to think about every episode. I think it's just the nature of that part, because that's kind of the way that it is. And I don't know if it's just a question that really needs to be answered. Because again, think about the hotel episode with who was it? The little doll that was cutting up. What's the name?
I can't think of the name.
Was it the devil? Is that the stand?
Yeah, probably.
I think.
Chucky.
Yeah, there you go.
yeah.
So when Chucky was fighting Polnareff, everyone was just Polnareff's not here. Nah, he's late. Oh, well, classic Polnareff. And it's just no one just thought, let's check his room to see if he's getting murked by a stand. And so, again, people they weren't questioning things in there. So I don't think really...
I'm just saying that I understand you're trying to introduce this new ability, this new power and stuff. And, I get it. I truly do get it. But, there needs to be some kind of, continuity fixing stuff with this. Dio's a thing. Dio is still a thing. So... why would you why is there no talk about Hamon oh, Joseph, maybe this is the thing we should try to teach you even a little bit about, because Hamon's a huge thing against vampires, but Joseph just uses it, doesn't really talk about it, and then it's weird for him not to talk about it and Dio not to talk about it.
I will say though that the thing about the Hamon, I'll let you touch on it too, Loren, is that my big thing is that Joseph, it was talked about clearly in part 2 because Joseph had natural Hamon. He said from the beginning that he had it. He always, had it, never really understood what it was or how properly to use it. I mean, he did different, wacky things with it, but it was something that was never really fully understood. And so that's kind of the thing with part 3 is Jotaro didn't have that. He didn't have this natural Hamon. So when Joseph came and he used it on the bud and stuff, it could have been something oh, well, maybe this, warrants a conversation. But at the same time, they've got spooky ghosts that are coming from the outside of them that just ripped a bud out of someone's head. I don't know that that's the most obscure thing that happened, so I think that might be why they didn't question it. But Haman Beat on YouTube, he's a great YouTuber who does Jojo content. He did a Debunking Iraqi Forgot series. And on his series, that's one of the things he talked about is why didn't Joseph teach him Haman or try, because maybe Jotaro could have picked it up since, humans can learn it. And he explains that, they were on a big time crunch with Holly. And you saw how long it took for him to master Haman the way he did with the intense training that he did with Lisa and them. He probably can't provide, because it's one thing to know how to use something, that's another thing to teach. Joseph may not have been confident in his abilities as a teacher, and with the time crunch that they had to get to Dio, he probably felt like our best ability to fight Dio is with stands. We need to focus on stand and stand power, and actually finding him in this time crunch. I don't have time to sit here and say, okay, channel your breathing, let's learn. And that's a big reason why, a lot of people believe that Haman wasn't used as a tactic to try to fight Dio with Jotaro in the gang. But Loren or Axl, do y'all want to elaborate?
I mean, that's more so that's what I was gonna get at.
Yeah,
I mean,
the only thing I can say is that Jonathan in part 1 was able to learn it in a day, or like a couple days, but from Zeppeli. So, I mean, yeah, Joseph may not have been a teacher, but if he had kept up with Hamon training, I think he would have understood Hamon enough to at least do that. Like, because he could have done the whole, stabbing him in the chest to, unlock it or whatever.
Why did you have your pinky out?
Didn't he, stab him with his finger?
Zeppeli?
Yeah.
I think he stabbed him with his front two fingers.
I used a finger, so I don't,
Either way, he fingered him right in the chest and said, congratulations. Now you're brimming with energy. But the other thing, too, to keep in mind, this is the other thing, is you've got to think that if Joseph or Jonathan, they were definitely strong stand users. You had Joseph or Jonathan who, was physically superior to basically all the Joestars. I mean, he literally ripped the band off of his neck that Tarukas couldn't rip off, even though Tarukas had zombie strength. But that was after he got the Haman passed to him by Baron Zeppeli. And then same with part 2, you had Joseph, who was able to do what he was able to do against Wamu after he had gotten, Haman passed to him from Caesar. So it's one of those things where Joseph and Jonathan, not only did they have time to train and learn Haman, but they both had enhanced Haman from someone else. Jotaro had no just natural Haman at the beginning. And again, they were on... I mean, you got to think, they literally found Dio, at the last possible bit. Holly was absolutely sick. She was absolutely on her deathbed. So just an extra day or two of Haman training could have hindered their time to find Dio. And that is definitely the big... And then you got to think, when Jotaro had a stand like Star Platinum, who did they think was really a chance against him? I think what they were thinking is, we just need to find him because Star Platinum can beat anything. No one knew the power of Dio's stand, and when they found it out, they realized, oh, shit, this is kind of a tough match. But at first, it's kind of like, okay, so we see Jotaro can basically do anything. There's 5 of us, 1 of him. We just need to find this dude. And I think that was the focus.
But, I mean, with Dio being an immortal vampire, even if they'd, killed his stand, wouldn't Dio still be alive? That wouldn't kill him killing his stand.
They added that weird brain thing. That wasn't a thing in part 1.
Yeah, that's
because in part
thing.
1 he got cut in half and it didn't do anything. Yeah. And another thing, with the Hamon, is we know that because Joseph does it, he uses Hamon within his stand. So if Jotaro even learned it a little bit to unlock it, when he does those auras, all those could have Hamon in them. So,
but at the same time, he would have to make contact with Dio, not just the world.
That's true. Yeah,
because if that was the case,
the stand doesn't.
Yeah, because Joseph could have just wrapped him.
Well,
wrapped the world.
Jotaro knows that little finger thing.
Starfinger.
Yeah, Starfinger.
But everyone misses Starfinger. Let's be real. It's used one time.
No, it's it's bad.
I don't miss it at
He's
all.
supposed to be a short distance. He's supposed to have short range, and it's nope.
I would have loved in part 4 if he would have murked that rat with Starfinger, or any other fight in part 3. I would have loved a little Starfingy.
But basically, all I'm saying is just a little bit of talking about the whole Dio Hamon and stuff what I was getting at. Just a conversation about it would have been cool because, like I said, it's just he already uses it, so it's just why not talk about we're on a plane or in a car going to our destination hey, this is why Hamon I used Hamon. This is why it's a thing that I think is going to be good against Dio. Like, this is one of our aces in the hole. Like, something like that. Like,
and I think that would have been cool too, because clearly, you know, with part 1 and 2, you know, being up there, like, especially with all of our favorites, you know, Haman is an element that really, like, makes JoJo special for us, and that we really enjoy JoJo. Not, you know, clearly I enjoy stands too, and I think most of us enjoy stands even if we don't like the presentation all the time, and, you know, some of us struggle with the flip from Haman to it. But I think another reason too that there wasn't just these random conversations is, personally, and I know everyone's opinion is different, I liked that there was enough Haman in part 3 where even though it was a complete transition to stands, it really fed stands in your face, so you, like, were really understood from the beginning, this is the new way, like, this is how it's going to be from now on, these are stands, this is the new plot point. But there were enough callbacks to Haman to satisfy me, because remember, he also used Haman against the one stand that was attaching to his arm and everything.
Yeah,
he used it to
get Haman a total of like 3 or 4
probably
times.
3, yeah. And that's why I'm saying that it was just enough to give you a taste of being like, oh, that's so cool, Haman. But if you would have talked about it and there would have been conversations, it almost would have felt like it was too much of a conversation about something that really wasn't going to be used going forward, but there were enough callbacks to it to kind of give you gratification, especially because they were all separated. Like, the Bud was at the beginning. It's like, oh, he used Haman. And then the fight where he used it against the other stand, and
tried to. It didn't work, but it was.
Well, yeah,
it was
but
later on.
That was later on, and then, you know, against Dio with the wrapping it around was at the end. So it gave you enough callbacks to it. So even though I understand where you're coming from, being a fan of Haman, you wish that they talked about it more. I think that callbacks to it were.
I just felt like
cool.
like watching it. I just almost felt like part 3 was like its own thing. Like, I didn't feel like it really like indirectly like linked into part 1 and 2. Watching it, like, and I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying, like, me watching it, I felt like part 3 was a start over. It was like, oh, this is, you know, just ignore 1 and 2, just start from here, like, and that was my biggest problem. Like, it didn't start from there, and that's just what it felt like, and I didn't really like that. I mean,
it was just a Rocky wanting to introduce a new mechanic. Like, I'm sure he felt like he could do all he could do with Haman, and he knew that with stands, like, he could be a lot more creative. And, you know, there's, like, spirits, so it still fits with, like, his whole, like, paranormal-esque thing. Like,
I mean, I get that. Like I said, it was just more or less, like, I just wish it would have felt more like a part 3.
I think stands are an amazing power mechanic, because as long as you don't know what your opponent's stand is, like, you just don't know. Like, it's more important about knowing what your opponent's stand does than how strong that stand is.
Yeah. Because as cool as Haman is, that was the limitations of it, is that part of, you know, what we talked about last episode that we really like about JoJo is that it's not something like, say, DBZ, where you have this absurdly powerful character who meets someone who's, you know, who appears to be slightly stronger than them. He does what he can to get stronger and then best them, and it's kind of that formula. It's that there are people who get introduced who are villains who are blankly stronger. It's like, I'm basically unbeatable, or my stand is really overpowered, or my stand completely counters yours. And they have to use these completely creative and intriguing ways to best their opponent. And with Haman, you saw a little bit of that too, where, you know, Joseph had to use his scheming, and then where Jonathan, you know, like when he punched through the flames against his fight with Dio, and he timed it where the sword, you know, would be in the fire and stuff. Those were creative elements, but they were really limited with Haman. With stands and the array of powers that they have, you have the ability to have so many more creative fights that you can always give a stand a different power and always keep it interesting. And I think that's the biggest advantage to stands, is that there's almost a limitless supply of, you know, powers that you can essentially give to a stand. And so when you put two against each other in kind of a rock, paper, scissors, or a, you know, water versus fire type situation, you can try to see how is the one going to best the other using, you know, the surrounding elements, using their, you know, tactics, using strategy, bluffing, you know, anything like that. And then to also elaborate on, like, the transition, the other big thing that, you know, part 2 was able to carry over Haman is how it began. You know, even though it was vastly far in the future, you know, Speedwagon was older, and Joseph, you know, had been born and grown up at that point, and the whole Lisa stuff happened. The part literally starts with the discovery of the cave with the stone mass and the Pillarmen being awakened, and Haman is really the only known counter at the time. When part 3 starts, you've got Jotaro in jail, who's like, oh, I've got this evil spirit that's, you know, following me. And Joseph is like, oh, I know exactly what that is. My buddy Abdul knows exactly. We have it too. And so that became, there wasn't really a need. The only need for Haman would have been to counter the vampires, which the only known one was Dio. But again, just going back to the time crunch and everything. But it's just because stands were the big question mark from the beginning. It was, what is this demon that, or this evil spirit that's bringing me things? Whereas the beginning of part 2 was, there's a cave full of masks and a guy on the wall. Yeah, go ahead.
So, if you had a month to save your mom, you have to travel to Egypt. You're going to spend 15 days, let's say, training an ability and then hope you get there in the other 15?
I'm just saying, like, I even said, like, not even Jotaro learning Hamon, just a conversation about it.
He just misses Haman.
Like I said, it just goes back to me feeling like part 3 is its own, like, it doesn't tie into 1 and 2. It's just its own thing. It starts from here. Like, I just didn't enjoy that because I wanted, especially since, like, you have all these characters from part 2 and all these nods to part 2. Like, I don't like that. I feel like it's its own thing with having these nods to part 2.
You say all these characters. It's
Holly, Joseph,
Dio for part 1.
Dio.
That's about it. I mean, I
and
think
the
you're grasping at
Speedwagon
straws.
Foundation.
And then
That's
I mean,
talk about Speedwagon Foundation. Like, so this entire time they're talking about Speedwagon Foundation throughout the whole anime. Explain to me why all these times they got help from Speedwagon Foundation, but the middle of the series when Iggy comes in, Jotaro's like, the Speedwagon Foundation? Aren't those your friends, Pop? Yeah. Like, oh, like, you just now found out about this? Like, what?
I mean, I don't know,
that's just a
That's
little
just
thing.
writing.
Yeah.
You're picking at straws.
And
All right.
honestly, you watched the dub. That might not be.
Yeah, the
That
translation.
might not be the translation.
Huge.
So,
I mean,
okay,
that's how it goes
Aaron
sometimes.
doesn't want
Fair.
viewers at home to know that he sits in his room and he practices his breathing, hoping to God that Haman will manifest one day.
naked.
He does do it naked. We've walked in on him.
But
So nobody else, anything else to elaborate on that?
What do you mean?
we elaborated on it.
We elaborated.
Oh,
It's just
but-
it's either a writing error or you're confused or a
I'm
translation
not confused.
error.
I spent this entire week rewatching this anime.
He watched that one episode 37 times.
So
Zoom in.
So what I was gonna say, like, comes back to what Brandon was talking about when Star Platinum was introduced. I think that was a great introduction to Stans. Like the fact that he pulled the gun out to his head and shot and it caught it and things like that.
Spooky, scary skeleton.
Yeah, I mean it was like
Oh, I thought that was cool.
it was very cool. Like okay,
Like, I have nothing against stands. I like stands. I think stands are cool. I'm just saying that I wish that like I said, it goes back to the whole. I feel when I watch part 3, I feel like part 3 is its own thing, and I don't like it.
Have y'all seen the YouTube video, or is it just me? The Star Platinum introduction, but he's 0.001 milliseconds too slow.
oh, does Jotaro just die?
He does.
Okay,
Part 3 is.
Yeah, I haven't watched that.
It's a pretty good one.
Not
It's a
going
good fan edit.
Not going to.
Why, Aaron? That's like your favorite. You hate part 3, so it's like, yay, look, it's
Why would
over.
if I don't like it, why would I want to watch something about it?
You'd want to watch something about it because you're basically rewatching part 3, but it's only one episode now.
Let's
instead of-
move on.
Aaron, if you're going to be an anime podcast host, you kind of got to talk about things you don't like and watch things you don't like. I feel like
true.
you're being a little wham wham baby.
I will say, he is talking
A
about things he
YouTube
doesn't like
video
this whole
about
time.
what if he was 1 millisecond off.
It's supposed to be funny, Aaron. It's a humorous video. Aaron only watches serious things like porn.
I don't know if that's okay to talk about, but sure.
No, it is.
He's not disagreeing. He's also tried to go Super Saiyan along with the Haman breathing. Go ahead, Axl. You had something to say?
well, like to get away from all of this, how about we start talking about some of our favorite stands from part 3?
Oh, baby! Go ahead, Aaron.
Oh, me? I mean, I have favorite. Like I said, I like stands.
Jesus, he's out of
I
control.
have stands I like.
Well, name a couple.
Whole Horse is probably my favorite.
He's
out of,
going
like, part
postal
3.
in
Like,
the studio
I
because he
love-
just admitted his favorite stand is a gun.
It is. Literally, I love Whole Horse. I love the cowboy thing. I love the whole gun thing.
Ooh, whoa, cowboy.
Like,
I will say that
he's
is
supposed to be a cowboy.
that is the most interesting stand though, because I think that's the most boring stand because it's literally a gun.
I like guns, man.
It's honestly a worse version of part 5.
Yeah. Sex
Mista.
Pistols.
Yeah, Sex Pistols.
But that's the thing. Sex Pistols are at least their own entity. And
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what makes it worse.
But it's the fact that like the stand had like it doesn't have any
What's
personality.
yours?
That's a tough one. My favorite stands are from the later parts. But if I had to pick a favorite stand from part 3, I very much, as far as the core group, I like I love Star Platinum, but I really like Silver Chariot a lot.
Of the core group, that's my favorite. But my favorite, like of the series, I really like Vanilla Ice's stand. Isn't it called like Cream?
Cream, yep.
I just think it's, I think it's really interesting what all it can do.
You like Cream?
Yeah.
Solid. I don't know, Star Platinum was my favorite. He just punches a lot of stuff.
That's fair.
It's very Ghost. Cool. The strongest stand is one that just punches.
So generic.
I mean, that's fair, but all your favorite stands do kooky, crazy things.
What's your favorite of the core group? Favorite stand? Aaron?
Of the core group,
it's the Fool.
No, it's definitely not that one. I know.
Probably Abdul.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Probably Abdul. I really like Magician Res. Like, I think it can do a lot. I like that it can do a lot, and I've always been a huge person about fire.
Alright, so and I like Magician's Red too, even though it's like underused. I do think it's cool. I like the look of it too. But Axl was the only one to elaborate on favorite stand as far as not in the core group. So of the villains, who's your favorite stand?
Of the villains, I feel like Whole Horse.
You said Cream.
Well, yeah. Of the stands. I thought we were.
No. I'm just saying you were the only one who elaborated on your like. We all mentioned our favorite one from the core group. So now, as far as the villains go, you said Cream. So I want to know here.
I already said Whole Horse.
Oh, you're right, Emperor. Okay, pick it. Besides the Emperor, what's your favorite interesting stand? Is it Hail to You?
I thought that stand was interesting. Like, I thought his power was very interesting. Like, I mean, probably him, honestly, because I liked his character. I liked his stand. I liked the ability and whatnot.
Surprised
he killed people by giving them things.
Aaron's favorite stand is the Emperor, and it's just a gun. I'm surprised his second favorite isn't the Sun, because it's just the Sun.
That's an episode we didn't need.
I was literally about to say my favorite villain stand is just
Arabia Fats.
Like, if you have power over the sun, you were literally a god of the world.
Why was that episode just felt... I mean, that whole episode was just boring and not
Someone's
needed.
an Escanor fanboy.
Yeah. You'd be right.
Yeah. I very much
I like his muscles.
Right. No, I very much like all of the villain stands. Well, most all of the villain stands.
Yeah.
Other than just a gun. I think Death 13 is probably my favorite.
What was the Mist one? Is that the Death 13?
No.
The Mist. I like the Mist one a lot.
Oh, you're talking about the Empress?
Yes. It was real. I really liked that
the Mist from
or
that
Justice.
movie?
Justice, my bad. Empress was the teeth thing that was underneath. Yeah, you're talking about Justice, which was Inyaba's that had the fog and all that stuff.
I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, hers was cool. I mean, you've got... Okay, so here, let me pull up the list here. So, the stand list, you've got Star Platinum, Magician's Red...
It's going to be a long list, boys.
It's not as long as you think. Star Platinum, Magician's Red, Hermit Purple, Hierophant Green, Silver Chariot, the Fool. So, you've got all of those, and then, of course, Holly stand, if you're counting that. So you've got that's you know,
it is
the core group. Yeah, it is. It's another version of Hermit Purple. But you've got those are the core group, which, you know, collectively we had Star Platinum, Silver Chariot, Magician's Red, but no one really like Hierophant Green?
I mean, he kept saying that nothing could stop the Emerald Splash, and then
everything
stopped the Emerald Splash.
You got countered all the time. It was just
the least interesting to me, just because I understand, you know, Jotaro's is just punchy ghost, and then, you know, you've got
Hermit Purple. I like Hermit Purple more than Hierophant.
Yeah. Was that where you were going?
But
Hierophant Green.
Yeah.
I like the Fool a lot too. Again, I think it was really underused, and, you know, it did get introduced later. But I love I love that it's sand. You got that little Gara vibe going on, so it had some cool things. But then, as far as, you know, the villain stands, you have Tower of Grey, which everyone remembers is the little flies that were going around. You've got Dark Blue Moon, the water one. You've got the Devil, which is Chucky. You've got Strength, which is the monkey and the bow. You got You've got
boys in sync over there.
Right,
Trying to tell us.
You've got Wheel of Fortune, which one was Wheel of Fortune?
It was the car, which I didn't like either.
And Drew Carey drove that one.
You're right.
Just so we're on the same page.
Yellow Temperance, which, you know, that one was good. Everyone liked that episode? Yellow Temperance? Because that was the...
It was interesting, but I didn't like how he was, near the end, he was just like, I give up. And
Yellow Temperance is the cherry episode, though, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
with the meme.
so.
Yeah. And that's one of the best parts.
And
Of all part 3.
It's very funny that they made it like a thing
Well,
to
the
tell
memes,
that
that's the best part of part 3 is
like,
the memes.
like, legitimately, like, I thought that was cool that they did that. It's like trying to make that as like a tell, and then later on, like, he just does it.
Do
Like,
you understand?
so it was a real thing that he just did with cherries.
He
Like,
did.
Part 3 went super hard on the English also.
Yeah, very hard.
Yeah.
I liked it. I mean, yeah.
And of
Oh
course...
my god!
Oh my god.
Yes. Oh my god.
And y'all remember from last episode that we talked about how, you know, part 1 and 2 we enjoy the dub, and then part 3 on, you know, we'll watch the sub on. So part 3, you know, has a great sub, which Aaron watched. Have you ever watched the sub for part 3? Yeah, he's only watched the dub, so that's it. So he's missed out on a lot of the English. So, that's a baseball.
like, after, like, I heard about it and I watched, like, clips.
Yeah, but it hits so different. It hits so
Why watch
different when you're
YouTube clips
watching.
of something you don't like?
That was fun. That's funny though.
But how did
Like
you know?
catching a bullet like
but how
less
did
than
you
a
know?
millisecond and Jotaro dying is just.
No, that is great A humor. And on top of that, you looked it up, but you said it's hilarious, but you wouldn't have known it was hilarious until you clicked the video. So you clearly clicked on something that you didn't know if you were going to think was funny or not.
After seeing people talking about it, you all talking about the English.
I'm talking about the 1 millisecond.
It's
being
not
short of
funny. It
catching
doesn't sound funny.
It's funny. Look it up. So then we've got the Hangman, which we all know was Jay Gal going from a little eye to eye. You've got the Emperor. It's a gun. You've got the High Priestess.
I hate you all.
I think it's okay. I don't think it's great.
The gun?
It's a cool looking gun, though.
Well, I don't even agree with that.
I think it's cool looking.
I think it was a
I think
character.
the design.
I think you two just want to own guns.
No, I do own guns, but
They can't take my guns away.
all right, now. Okay, now.
So,
Anyway.
so I was actually wrong again. So Empress was actually the stand that Joseph fought. It was the one that stuck to him that he, you know, used the hum on. That one was Empress. It was the High Priestess was the teeth stand, the one where they fought, you know, in the underwater and everything when they were scuba. And then, so then you've got Justice, you've got the Fox stand with Inyaba, you've got Death 13 with the boy, you've got the Sun with Arabia Fats, you've got the Lovers with Steely Dan, which, that, you know, had an interesting stand battle too, and that was the only time you really saw them when they shrunk down to the, you know, microscopic level to be able to enter to fight him. Remember that?
Oh.
He projected with Hermit Purple on the TV, and that's kind of how they did it. It was like a Magic School Bus episode.
Yeah.
So, pretty good. Just... probably not the, I don't know, it was probably comparable to the things they go through. Magic School Bus, let's be real. Judgment, which of course was, Hail to you. And then that's when you get to battle in Egypt. And you've got Anubis, you've got the sword, you got Yeb, who's the water stand, Kum, which is Oingo, and Thoth, which is Boingo. So, you know, we don't talk bad about Oingo Boingo around here.
Oh, you didn't like Oingo Boingo?
I love Oingo.
We just
I said Axl.
No, I mean, like, I thought the stand, like, well, the copycat stand I didn't really like.
I love that.
But I loved I loved the little song and
You'll,
everything, especially when Whole Horse did it with, whichever one. Yeah, like I loved that part. I like the comedy aspect of it, but
I just so you know, Oingo's stand, the shapeshifting would be great if he wasn't an idiot. It would
that's true.
It's so good, and it's such a it's a unique one, and that's why I hated that it got a little underused.
Iggy can kind of do the same thing with his sand,
and that's fair. But remember, I mean, even in part 4, you've essentially got that in the first episode. So I mean, clone stands are interesting, but I just like the fact that it was a person able to manipulate himself. It was interesting seeing a stand that literally manifested like on him, because you know, Emperor may have just been a gun, and he kind of pulls it out of nowhere, but that's basically the stand's projecting out of nowhere.
Pull up my Beretta.
But he literally just manipulates his face. So I thought that, just like strength being the boat, I thought that was cool too. Then you have Bassett, which is the magnetism, which clearly in
I didn't like
hilarious
that.
but that episode was so funny.
It was hilarious, but that stand has, I think, so little capabilities. If you're smart and not an idiot touching electrical sockets.
I mean, that's one of my favorite memes of all of the series is whenever it just says, my face when there's an electrical socket in the desert, and it's just Joseph. Why is there an electrical socket in the desert? And then he touches it.
If you don't touch the electrical sockets, what does it do?
I don't know. I feel and that's fair, but you've got to be curious. I mean, there's a rock with an electric. You're probably going to try to charge your phone. I would. You need something. Then you've got Set, which was Alessi, and the little make you younger stand. Which that whole episode, I enjoyed that episode because I loved. The
baby stand.
Now this is the one thing.
So you loved seeing Polnareff get all feely with a woman?
Whoa.
Well, did you see how heartbreaking it was? He left her to go.
He was a little boy. He was excited.
He decided when he came.
He was a little boy.
He was
a mind of a man. Like
he was a perv.
No, this is what we have to tell. We got to address the elephant in the room about the Alessi episode and the sheer disappointment that I felt when I read a fan complaint in a Jojo group on Facebook. I read where someone complained, and I didn't even think about this. So while I'm happy because the thought of it makes me happy, I'm also upset because I wish they never would have brought this to my attention. Why did Araki not, instead of having Jotaro fight Alessi, why didn't he have Joseph be the one who finds Polnareff? Because if he would have hit Joseph with the Alessi stand, he would have turned into young Joseph. Because Jotaro only aged back, say like 15 years or however 10 years, whatever. So Joseph would have reverted back to his younger self.
Really close to that.
Yeah. Or I mean,
with hormone, he would have looked a lot younger, so he would have been close to prime Joseph.
But it's just the fact that he could have you could have brought back the old voice actor and be like, hey, this feels weird. I feel like my young self again. So looks like your little plan to, and that would have been amazing. So that is my disappointment with that episode. I like the episode
randomly
because
pulls out the clackers.
Right, he just has them. I mean, he randomly pulled out a Tommy gun. What's going to stop him from keeping his clackers? True. So that's why I'm saying that I like the young Jotaro beating him up was satisfying. That was funny. The ability to turn people younger was an interesting mechanic. I thought that young Polnareff having his little creativity to win the battle was interesting. Him having the thing where he just kind of denied the lady whenever he got back to being an adult, that was a little like because Polnareff wants love but he's focused on the mission. And then the disappointment of Joseph. He's a good-hearted person. One
of his best moments was when he fought against, what was the name of the one? Judgment, right? The one that brought back his sister.
Yes.
That was great for Polnareff because he wished for all those things, but then he realized that it was false and he killed his his sister.
So was the gold false?
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure it
was also clay.
They have riches and friendship. They need no money.
Exactly. And then
the Speedwagon Foundation.
Paycheck, boys.
That is fair. So then you've got Horus, Pet Shop, which is the bird. That amazing episode, amazing fight. You've got Osiris, which was Darby the older, who had the ability to take the soul.
There's one problem with that fight. I feel like that should have been one of Joseph's moments, because he was always known for being able to beat even the best con man and stuff like that. And that could have been another point because they were doing the pennies and the thing. That could have been another point where he could have used hormone because he could have used hormone on the water and kept it from spilling on his turn.
Oh, I thought that was going to be a thing. I thought that was going to be one of his hormones.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be one of his cheating things.
I worry it's just because hormone's always been kind of visible to the human eye, at least like the ripple that comes from it.
But Darby wouldn't know what that is.
But he did say no cheating. He probably would have just speculated.
But Joseph cheated anyway. He didn't catch it.
But to a degree, did he or did he not? Because remember, he did tilt the glass, because with the little gum.
Yeah, Joseph did, yeah.
It wasn't gum, but it was chocolate.
Was it chocolate?
Yeah, because it would slowly melt.
Yeah. Wait, no, that wasn't.
It was chocolate.
It was something that would slowly melt.
But I'm saying that wasn't Joseph. That was Darby.
Oh, I thought you were saying Darby's cheap.
Oh, we got donuts being brought to us by our local buddy, Skylar Hopkins. He may join us one day for the podcast, but for now he's going back to sleep. Donuts in the studio. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
So, wow. But no, I was pretty sure it was Darby that did the chocolate because that's how he got around.
Yes, it was Darby.
Oh, it was Darby?
It was Darby. because
Joseph cheated in another way though.
He poured too much in the glass.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, Joseph was pouring extra in the glass. Oh, now we're eating ASMR. The donut. But yeah, he used the chocolate. So he cheated Joseph. He didn't catch Joseph cheating. That's true. But I feel like again he would have questioned Ripper.
Now, about that episode.
But still, Joseph knows people. He knows how to read those con men. And so that's my only complaint is I feel like someone else should have maybe done the drop thing and lost, and then it would have been down to like Joseph and Jotaro, and then Joseph's just like, let me handle it, and they play poker, and Joseph probably would have just. And
that's fair. They could have done that.
I love the poker. Like that was.
I bet everybody.
Like,
here's me. Here's Avdol. Avdol, can I? You want to spare your soul?
You did. I know I cheated. You didn't look at your hand. Yeah. What happened?
No, that's a good scene. That's why I kind of forgive it is because that's a great scene.
But
it's like, where did you get that drink?
And on top of that, I love that when he's just like, here's my soul, Avdol. Can I borrow yours? Here's
and
Avdol's
my mom.
Soul. Okay. Here's my mom. And then he's like cockying back at the hospital. Putting it all out.
He's sipping on a drink.
He's not here to consent, but here's cockying. And it's just like, I'd have been so pissed if like my soul just left my body from the hospital.
Wasn't his similar to his brothers? Like it was more like if you felt like defeat, you would lose again too?
I mean, but both of them I believe were the same way. When you mentally acknowledge defeat, you got pulled. Because Joseph, remember, he never acknowledged defeat, and that's how it happened. But yeah, then the next was Autumn or Atum, which was the other Darby with the video games. Or that's
that was my little bit of forgiveness because they let Joseph have that moment because it turns out he was playing the game the whole time. I was like, that's great.
Yeah, no, that was spectacular. That was and it was a good episode. It was humorous. It was fun. The Cockween, it's a fight technically. Cockween versus Younger Darby was really good.
You did exactly what I wanted you to do. Like you propelled me so much faster.
It gave Cockween character. Like it showed more about like him previous to this whole thing.
See, because that's my hot take about part 3. I mean, if we're just giving hot takes here, is that. Of course, I love all of the protagonists from, Jojo and in part 3. But Kakyoin was, really lesser for me. He's very beloved by the community, but I just feel like he didn't have as much screen time. He didn't do as much as, I would have liked for him to do. And I believe, like I said, Paul Nerve might as well be the main character with just sheer fight time and screen time. And Paul Nerve is clearly amazing.
You can definitely tell Rocky, loved him.
Yes.
I think he's a better main character than Jotaro.
So, and a lot of people will agree with you. See, that's not as hot of a take. But then Jotaro, a lot of people enjoy as a Joestar. They enjoy his stoic, personality.
You've got Joseph. Fight while hands in pockets, badass.
You've got Joseph.
I do.
Who
I like him better in part 4 than in part 3.
Part 4 is interesting. Yeah, Jotaro.
He actually changes.
I don't like he's not jacked.
You have Joseph, you have Joseph, who you still have your callback to part 2, who you still have love for, but who also has a lot of character and personality and the English and everything in part 3. So it's just Kakyoin just never hit it. He was kind of like Avdol in the sense that I still love Avdol as a character. I'm not bashing them as characters, but I just didn't develop that love where a lot of people are like, oh yeah, Kakyoin's my favorite character. I can't understand that, But
it's just for the cherry sand.
Yeah, that's all it is, bud.
That is fair. I guess
please elaborate.
That's enough.
Please elaborate why you like Jotaro.
I mean, I like Jotaro too.
You told them everything they need to know. Hands in pocket, smoke ciggies.
You got the best.
Drinks alcohol and or.
Yeah.
He gets a drink out of nowhere and then bets his friend's soul.
He's a school kid smoking ciggies, punching people.
So he's what he wants to be out of life.
No, because I don't smoke. Because I'm a good Christian boy.
So then we've got Tenor Sax, which was Kenny G, which everyone knows how good that stand was. He just got bodied by the little compass. Then you got Cream. Amazing stand, amazing fight. That was
the ability. That's where Rocky started doing really kind of crazy abilities. He was able to go to another dimension, and he was invisible, and everything he would touch would fucking just disappear. Yeah. So that just fucking crazy.
Cream fight was amazing,
and the fact that it's a stand that he could just get inside of, so he had no that's honestly the perfect stand for a vampire because he can just get in it and he doesn't have to worry about the sun.
How was he a vampire when there's no masks?
Huh? Because Dio
but Dio can only make zombies.
Oh.
unless after the thing you got to think of is maybe after 100 years, he can make vampires now, or it was a different way he made.
Yeah, because I was going to
say not his vampiric essence.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. I'm wondering if the blood, because that's kind of how, if anyone's a fan of the Anne Rice series, the Vampire Chronicles, you've got Interview with the Vampire. That's kind of, you have to drink from me and live forever.
It's also the Lost Boys.
Yeah, Lost Boys. So
Cool.
there's different.
Even better.
So sick of you.
We're getting on mainstream media now. We're not doing anime anymore.
But why was it not talked about though? If you're gonna change something like that or add something like that, you have to talk about it.
No, you don't have to.
Because you can
Rocky writes the series and draws
you
it.
can
He
leave
does
that.
enough.
You can leave that to the view. You just
Interpretation.
Yeah, because then you're like, oh well, it was a different way. Like literally, what we just said is a different way. So.
And then of course you had the world, and you also had Jonathan's Stand, Hermit Purple 2, or the Passion, or whatever you call it, that Dio had as well, the Vines Rapper.
That's someone we haven't got to yet.
Which
we have
stand
talked
do you think
and talked,
is
but
better?
What?
Dio's or Star Platinum?
Oh,
I think clearly the world's better, but plot armor and the happenstance, because it's literally basically the same stand except that the world can stop time for 3 times as long. So I mean that's clearly a much bigger advantage.
Wasn't he able to get 5 seconds?
Jotaro, I thought he was able to get to 4.
I thought at the very end he was able to get to 5, but I'm not sure.
I know Dio. I thought Dio got to
10.
Did he? I thought he got to
11.
13.
I think he got to 11. I think he was like 10, and then he said 11, and he's like, holy shit,
Oh yeah, because Daniel Five is like, I've even gotten stronger. Now I can stop for
the
11 seconds.
The only area where I could see Star Platinum technically be better, is because the stand stats say that the world is a B, and isn't it? Strength?
No.
It's
I thought
no.
He's not do S. No, they don't do S.
Jotaro.
Fact checks.
Yeah, check it out, because Star Platinum is A in everything except range, and the world is A in everything except range and something else. He's got a B in something. That Jotaro, his Star
I will
Platinum
say, I didn't see the world use the little finger trick.
You will.
That's true. He didn't have the world finger.
But the one thing is, you clearly see that he's more powerful anyway because he's able to destroy the world with that punch.
Yeah.
So I mean that's enough. Even the ranking thing, the ranking thing should say the same thing.
Oh, he's got 2 Bs.
Yeah, he's got 2 Bs, a C, and 3 A's.
Yep, and Star Platinum.
I didn't know the world had a C.
Yeah.
What's his C in?
Range.
Oh yeah.
But
what's the 2 B's in then?
That's what I need to look up because it's in kanji. But yeah, Star Platinum I believe is A.
And the C is in range as well.
So I believe it might be strength and durability, if I had to guess, because that would show why Star Platinum was able to just body through them. So yeah, you could argue
Purple.
Oh yeah, buddy.
Just that straight point.
It only has 1 A.
It's just one. It's just a little teardrop. But that's what I'm saying. So you could argue that without stopping time, Star Platinum's better. But of course, with the sheer stopping time for literally just 1 second longer,
it's better.
Automatically makes
stop time for a second.
But
stab you in the head.
It feels like it would have been the same situation though if. Jotaro trained after part 3.
Oh yeah, he
would have
gotten
extended
exactly.
It,
so that's what I'm saying. It's all relative.
They were the same. It's just Dio had more time. Yeah. So at the time, that stand was stronger.
It's relative. So
and I loved the fact that after he drank Joseph's blood, that's what doubled his time. That's what made him so much stronger.
That's another episode, or that not an episode, but another
the Dio's world. Those are all really good.
No, they're all they're some of the best episodes, if not the best episodes of the whole series.
No, I know,
but you got to remember the Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh, that is my favorite. We talked about it last time. My absolute favorite. Who sang "Eat It"?
Yep.
Al Yankovic.
Al Yankovic. And then that. And also let's not forget. Just a week ago, we celebrated Joseph Joestar's birthday. It was September 27th, I believe, and that's one of the other facts he gives Jotaro about himself whenever he's
I
was born September 27th, 1920, I believe is what it is.
20 something. I think it's 20.
I think it's 20. Either way, but yeah. So
how do you know what day it was? But
what?
What
the day, but not the year.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm pretty sure it's 1920.
That's fair.
Fact check. Fact check.
Fact check.
Joseph Joestar. Joestar birthday. Axl is stupid.
I don't care about his birthday.
You know, that is a solid point.
Like, I'm just saying, you were listing off that his birthday was
27th September 1920.
like
Woo! Jojo trivia!
So, the one thing that was a little weird about Dio is
they changed
towards
it to kill him.
towards the end, which I mean, I guess it makes sense because after he'd absorbed Joseph's blood and stuff, that's when he started like. It seemed like he threw his respect away for the Joestars again.
Oh, I think he only cared about one Joestar.
And that's fair. I agree with that. I think he only cared about Jonathan. He doesn't care about the other Joestars.
He doesn't care about
He
the
doesn't
family.
acknowledge the other Joestars. He just
wants to kill him so they don't kill him.
Well, and the other theory behind that too that a lot of people have is they feel like with Dio, it's that there's a lot of tricks and underhandedness, and it's one of those things where again, when you're fighting someone like that, like you're gonna be. I mean, like Joseph trying to lure him in and wrap himself with the hermit purple and stuff like that, and Jotaro doing the little thing with the magnetism and stuff. It's like those were definitely necessary to like give themselves the advantage to be able to keep up and beat Dio. But I think that's part of the reason he enjoyed Jonathan is Jonathan literally. I mean, he used his brains, but he like outsmarted him, and he didn't do anything. I guess that Dio would see as like
something that Dio would do. He literally beat him without being like him.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm saying. I feel like even though I brought it up, I do think that it was that he only had respect for Jonathan.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how I feel about it.
That's a fair take. Fair take, Aaron.
How did y'all feel about Cockeween's death?
I mean, yeah, it was sad, but again,
Unnecessary.
I've talked about it before that I think part 1 has, the deaths that really hit me the hardest. I mean, part 2 also has deaths that hit you hard with Caesar, but part 3, it's like...
You kind of expect them, like, at a certain point, you just start to expect them to die, I think.
Well, my fiance bawled her eyes out at Avdol and Iggy. That whole episode with Vanilla
I could
Ice
see
and Cream.
Iggy, but Avdol was just so sudden.
Well,
it's like one of those
it
things.
was,
I
but
don't feel like I could.
It was the end. It was whenever the clouds formed, and it was Avdol and Iggy, and the like that got her. I mean, she choked up. And whenever Cockeween died, it was just kind of like, yeah, it was sad, but it wasn't like.
I will say, I was very upset when Joseph died first watching because Joseph's my favorite Joestar, and him dying, I was just like, oh fuck.
Those sure were a great 50 days or whatever.
Yeah.
I think 50 days. They sure were fun.
Yeah, and then he just does the same thing, the little fist in the air.
You got this.
Yeah.
So you said Cockeween's death was unnecessary. How?
I mean, I don't feel like it needed to happen.
My final emerald splash.
Yeah, I mean, it's not
didn't he like help them figure out like Dio's power?
He's just
but like it's not that Dio knew that. He was just bodying them.
Yeah.
It's not like he knew, wait, he figured it out. Surely I have to take him out now. He was just
because he didn't realize until Joseph literally told him way later, and he thought Joseph figured it out. He didn't know Cockeween did it until Joseph
he was
said,
just some fly on the wall.
Oh, I thought Dio like during the fight was like, how did you like? I think when he said that he's like, how did he figure it out? And then I thought he referenced the emerald splash and the clock and stuff.
Yeah, Joseph figured it out.
No, but I'm saying like Joseph figured it out because of Cockeween's hint, so Cockeween figured it out first.
Oh, yeah.
But Dio had no idea.
Yeah, Dio just thought Joseph figured it out. He thought Joseph was just
I got
smart.
you.
That's completely unnecessary death.
That's fair.
Because he was, in fact, my second favorite.
And that's why I say I can't say it's
Because
a hot
of the
take, but it
sharing.
Just
only That's a good scene.
One day I'd love to believe that I could do that.
And that's another bit of the charm of part 3, that part 3's got, the around the world little adventure story and everything.
Comedy.
Plenty of comedy. It's got a lot of comedy. It's got the battle. I mean, it's the most shonen, clearly.
Of the first 3, it's definitely got the most comedy, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's got lots of humor. It has lots of, neat introductions.
You said the first 3, right?
Yeah.
I don't want comedy. I want big ass mostly people fighting each other.
But that's literally like the stand of the way. I mean, I guess the people are mostly, but stands are.
Some of the people.
No, some of them.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah.
Some of them are fat.
Boingo is ripped.
He is.
Oh.
That car, the one with the car and the big belly.
Arabia Fats.
Okay.
It's his actual name.
But you can tell, like, Araki used this as a base to make all of his further parts. Like with the stands, with how the characters dynamic usually goes, and the comedy. Like it seems like in part 4s and 5, there's a lot of comedy. Like, it feels like it follows that same format, just improved on.
Yeah, even if part 3 isn't your favorite part, I think everyone should be able to at least recognize why it's so widely recognized and why it's so widely beloved and why it is, essentially the most popular of them. It's just got a lot of those attributes that, a lot of people can enjoy. There's something for everyone, and
I was about to say, everyone finds their little niche in it. It's like, okay.
Because like
it's literally the foundation for further everything else.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Like Aaron, even if he doesn't like the series, the fact that he can Google subbed English to watch Little Zay, clearly some of the comedy in it he did enjoy.
Like I said, there's parts of part 3 I enjoy.
Did you like Dio's World?
Yes, I
I don't think anyone can say that they don't like Dio's World.
People will.
That's one of the best fights in all of JoJo for a while at least. Yeah, I mean there's some that are better, but it's really, really good.
Oh no,
it's top 3 at least.
I agree. I think part 4, Dio's World's the biggest drive that gave me to rewatch it. Because I mean, like I said, Dio's World's amazing.
That is one thing I wish Dio would have been more present throughout. Maybe.
Oh, I think it was just enough for what they
well,
wanted.
Yeah, because that.
Oh, the Dio sprinkling. Yeah, I think that was
because he was less of this primary villain and more of literally just a presence. He was just a presence overlooming the entire.
He was a cult.
That's very fair.
Legitimately became what he wanted.
Because that's kind of
and he was able to easily just. I mean, if he couldn't manipulate them, with his words, he just he just put a little
control,
Now
he found a way.
And that's the other thing, too. I get the Stand of the Week format might not be something people enjoy, but the positive thing about it is, the Dio's World. We already talked about that. But even outside of Dio's World, there are still a lot of battles, stand battles and fights that are in there that I think are, going to make your top 10 list of just about anyone's. And that's why I say that, the fight with Paul Nerve, Iggy, and Cream is way up there, for a lot of people. It's an amazing fight. Even little fights. I tell people all the time, I think an underrated fight is the first fight, Paul Nerve versus Avdol. When they're trying to gauge it, that's a good one. Pet Shop versus Iggy. There are some really overtaken Paul Nerve with
the
Anubis
gorilla
versus
fight.
Guitar.
What?
Or whatever, orangutan or
Not
whatever.
the monkey.
How interesting was that fight?
I don't know, it was pretty interesting to me.
So the episode was definitely interesting. That monkey had some inner demons.
He was gonna get in on that girl. He was gonna do it.
Do you think so?
Probably.
Had Jotaro not shown up, how far do you think Rocky would have took that?
I don't know. Araki does things. I mean, you got to think Araki's probably the only human being who can just put dogs dying in his in his work constantly, and people are still like, "Oh, Araki senpai, you're so amazing. You're so." Name one other person who's just like a dog. Let's just kill the thing, and people are just like, "Oh, we love you so much. You're such a great writer. Please produce more content. We love watching the dogs get owned."
Oh. I will say this: the theme songs for Part 3 are kind of they're okay. I think they're good, but I don't think they're
now.
Great.
Walk Like an Egyptian is god tier indie.
I mean, I said that I meant the opening.
Yeah. Last Train Home.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say Last Train Home is definitely a divisive one. People either love it or hate it. The second one, the second outro. Some people love it, some people hate it.
I don't like
remember,
it.
it's just a warm.
Yeah, I don't like it.
The second, because there's two intros.
I thought that was going to be the negative one.
And there,
So the second one, when Dio stops time in the middle of the theme, that's
Dio
great.
opening.
That is amazing. No other anime had done that to that point where they let a character literally influence the theme, and that was just great.
The sound effect openings are always great, but the character intros that started coming up, that set the tone for it, and it was amazing. And that's the thing, is even if that song seems a little lacking for people, that really brought it to life. And then the first one, Stand Proud, I love Stand Proud. I think Stand Proud is good.
It's okay. As I said, I think they're good, but I don't think they're. I think I like 2 and 1's way better.
If you compare them to Part 1 and Part 2's openings, they're garbage.
I think Jotaro.
I think they're good, but I think the other ones are better. I ain't on his. Don't put me in with him.
Everything in JoJo is just about 9 out of 10 or better.
Part 3.
Unless you get to Stand Proud.
Not very good.
Unless you get to Stand Proud, sung by Jotaro. I don't know how many people have listened to that, but it's not good. He sure tries, and I respect him for trying it. And I know the fans were happy to see him giving it all, but it wasn't good. So if you haven't seen Stand Proud sung by Jotaro's voice actor, look it up, but just be warned, it's not as good as you would hope that it would be. Might make you like the song less.
Maybe it might make me like the series better.
What?
I'm so confused as to what's happening in life.
All right, guys. On that note,
Many things are wrong, I think, in that series.
And I see now he's saying series. Now he's not just saying part. Everyone comment down below who your favorite. No, not your favorite. Just comment your least favorite of the podcast.
Parts with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I can't say series.
I mean, I think so. Because you're complaining about the part, and now you're saying there's something wrong with the series, Aaron. So do you hate the series or just part 3?
They're all their own season, I think.
No, part 1 and 2 are season 1. That's why we say parts and not seasons.
I classify them separate.
Aaron
Very
is
few
special.
Like I'm pretty sure
In a lot of ways.
Hulu. I'm pretty sure Hulu separates them.
No, it doesn't.
It's cool that Hulu does that.
It does.
They
They separate them season 1, 2, and 3, but season 1 is parts 1 and 2. Aaron.
I hate you.
Season 3 is part 4.
Blah, 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 blah. But yeah.
Whatever.
So any closing thoughts on it? Part 3 is great.
I mean, I really appreciate what it did for the future. Like I liked it, okay, but
it brought me to where I needed to be with Josuke, so it's all it needed to do.
It's my fiance's favorite part too. I guess
Part 4 is
I'm
the
sorry,
best part.
Brandon.
Okay.
But I do think that on the podcast, we had a great time talking about parts 1 and 2 last week. I think we had a good time talking about part 3 this week. Now, part 4 and 5 we're going to bring to you at a later date. We're going to take a little bit of a break from JoJo and talk about some other great anime out there. Try to give a little something for the people who have yet to see JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. If you're one of those people, again, I don't know why you're watching this, but cool, but definitely please watch it. And if you're someone who, knows someone who hasn't watched it, you gotta convince them. Do something. Do whatever you can. I know it's a struggle to convince non-JoJo fans to watch JoJo, but I just feel like it has to be done to change lives for the better.
Part 3 is rough.
Love and peace.
Love and peace. Signing out, everyone.
So you just cut.
How long?
It's that big.
How long? Look.